Now my current plant ban hasn't lasted very long, and for good reason. Following the video last week about potting mix components, you might remember I didn't have any worm castings for the video. So when these were back in stock, I went back to get some and of course had to have a look at the plants while I was there. Now I didn't get any specific plants, but I did come across some rescue plant boxes. There were some for rare plants and some for standard house plants. I managed to get hold of 2 rare rescue plant boxes and a standard houseplant rescue box, just to see what the comparison was between the varieties that you get and the difference in values. Of course the boxes are priced differently as well for the 2 different types of plants, but if you've watched any of my previous videos where I've unboxed these, you'll know you can get some fantastic varieties, some really unusual varieties, and it's a great way to add new ones to the collection for a lot less than you would pay full price for the plants. Now the catch is they are rescue plants, so they do need some TLC, but they should all be savable. Now, I checked out incredibly fast to make sure that I got these, and I've got 2 boxes to open today. So I've got this little one here, which is actually surprisingly heavy, so I think the worm castings are in this one. And then I've got another box about twice this size next to me with what I'm hoping is the rest of the plants. So stay tuned and let me know your thoughts on the plants that we get in the different boxes, and maybe help with some identification if they're not labelled, but also any care tips. If I pull out anything unusual from the box that I'm unsure of, please do share any tips in the comments below, as I'd love to hear them, and you'll be helping me out with saving these rescue plants. So inside the first box it looks like there are 3 plants plus the 2 bags of worm castings, so I'll get those plants out and show you those first. So here is the first plant, and as you can see this one is a little bit worse for wear, and thankfully they have labelled them as well, although I might still come across plants that I'm unsure of or not heard of before, so your input is still very much appreciated in the comments below as we go through the video. Now this one is the Philodendron Burle Marx variegata, or it does say normal on there as well, but you can see there is variegation on the leaves. Now just looking at the plant you can see it is quite worse for wear, especially those leaves at the top there that have taken some damage, and then you've got a nice healthy stem with a new leaf in the middle and the 2 leaves at the bottom. While one has a little bit of damage, they are generally okay. So this looks almost like if you've ever caught your plant in the hoover or vacuum and then you've pulled it away and you've got the remnants of the leaf left behind. But then these 2, I don't know what it is, maybe they've been in some sort of heat source that has made them wilt, I'm not quite sure, but what I'll probably do is just trim those off, and then hopefully that'll give all the rest of the energy to produce this new leaf and hopefully many more thereafter. Here's the second plant, and as you can see this one is in much better condition than the first one. This one is the Philodendron Florida Ghost, as you can probably tell from those wonderful 5-pointed leaves and the variegation, particularly on that little leaf. Now this one, the only reason I can see that it might be in the rescue box is it has maybe had some lost leaves in the past, although it does still have some really good leaves on it now, but also it looks quite small compared to the size of the pot, so maybe this plant just hasn't grown to its full potential and possibly smaller than the others that were growing alongside it. So this one has ended up in the rescue box, but it looks like a relatively healthy plant, so probably not much TLC needed. And if I bring it a little bit closer, just so that you can see the stem, you'll see there's lots of new leaves on the way there, lots of new growth, which is a really good sign. So hopefully this will start to grow lots of new leaves and fill out to its full potential with a little bit of care. And this is the third plant. This is the Philodendron Micans. It's almost like they know I like collecting philodendrons, as this is the 3rd one so far. Now these, I love the leaves on these. I think they look almost mystical, the way they have that sort of shimmery, velvety top side and then the red undersides, and depending on how you catch it in the light, it almost looks bronze as well. Now looking at this at first glance, it does look a little bit unruly, a little bit untidy. It's got lots of vines that are a bit tangled up here, but generally they do look all healthy. These ones up here have got new leaves on the ends, so they are growing well. They just maybe need a bit of a tidy up. There's a couple of bits of damaged leaves or marked leaves, but I do find with Micans, the leaves damage or mark very easily. I'm not sure if you find the same with your Micans if you've had them in the past, but then randomly, this one has this really long vine that's just grown off by itself, so I'm not quite sure what's happened with that. So I think this has just ended up in the rescue box because it looks a little bit untidy. There's nothing wrong with the growth of it, it just needs, like I said, tidying up, maybe trimming back and possibly propagating, because looking at the end of this as well, it looks like a perfect propagation opportunity. If I just bring that a little bit closer to the camera so that it focuses on the plant, you've got the new shoot on the end of that, or a new vine coming off, which if we maybe stick this back in the soil or even chop that off and put it in water or soil on its own, it should develop into a new plant, and we've got another Micans from it for free, and there's another one just there in the middle. So maybe I'll cut that off and propagate it, or maybe even just stick it back in the same pot just to fill the pot out and even it out a little bit more, and hopefully that'll make it look a lot tidier as it grows. And now onto the other box. So this one is quite a bit bigger, so there might be some larger plants in there, or possibly just a larger mix of plants. And looking in the top, you can see there are quite a few in there, so let's get them out and see what there is. And here's the fourth plant, and this one doesn't actually have a label on it. So this one, I think I know what it is, but please confirm in the comments below, or do let me know if you think it's something different. Now, I don't actually know how to pronounce this, so I'll also spell it. This one, I think, based on the uneven shape of these long leaves and the way it's growing out from the stem, I think this is the Philodendron Joepii, or Joepii, Joepii, but please do let me know if you think the same in the comments below. So just to look at the leaf a little bit closer, it's got that really uneven shape, very long, but that uneven sort of bit in the middle, and then the way that it's growing from the stem in the middle there. And you can see this one doesn't actually look too bad. Maybe it's a little bit smaller again than it should be for the pot that it's in. It looks like maybe it's possibly lost a couple of leaves in the past, but it's got all of these little leaves growing out and a new one on the way. So really not concerned about this plant at all. It is perfectly salvageable. It looks relatively healthy. It just needs a little bit of care. Now this bit, you'll see I have actually done this myself. I took it out of the box and it looks like it's had some damage in transit, but not enough to take the leaf off, but just it was getting bent. So I've done this so that it would hold the leaf up while I was doing the video. Then maybe it'll repair itself, or maybe it's gone. So we'll find out if this leaf dies off in the future. That's not a problem because it's got a new one on the way. But if it does repair itself, then it might make that leaf last a bit longer. And here's the fifth plant. So moving away from philodendrons and to Sansevieria or Dracena, with whatever you prefer to call this. Technically Dracena now, but I know Sansevieria is still in use, so I prefer Sansevieria because that's what I'm used to. Now this is the Moonshine, and you can see it's quite different from a lot of the darker leaved varieties, as this one has very fleshy light green leaves. If you've not seen it before, this one I think is from the standard houseplant box, as it's not particularly rare, but looking at it, it looks perfectly healthy. The plants are a good size. They might need a little bit of a wipe on the blades just to tidy them up, but what I can see, the reason as to why this might be in the rescue box, is the size of the pot is very small compared to the size of the plants, and just giving them a bit of a wobble, they're not that secure in the pot. So I think they just need a bit of a wipe and a repot, and then this plant will be perfectly fine. So that last plant tube that I just opened had two tiny plants in, so this one is one of them, and I'll show you the other one in just a second. So this is plant 6, this is the Philodendron Ring of Fire, and this one, as you can see, only has 2 leaves at the moment, and then this new leaf on the way, and it is in this very small pot. I find these dry out incredibly quickly, and the soil can get very hard as well in these, so I think this just needs potting up into a slightly larger pot, and maybe using some of what I've talked about in my potting mix video, I'll give it a better potting mix as well, and help this to grow to its full potential, and hopefully a much larger Philodendron Ring of Fire. Now I have just found a list at the bottom of the box that are the plants that should have been in there, so that does confirm what we thought the fourth one was, and that is the Joepii or Joepii, however you pronounce it. Again, please do let me know in the comments below, spell it out for me so that I can get it right for the next video whenever I talk about it in the future. Now this also helped me to identify this one, as this didn't have a label on it either. I thought it was maybe some sort of a variety of Obliqua or Adantani because of these very similar looking leaves, although they are quite a bit tinier or smaller. Now this one is the Esqueleto or Monstera Esqueleto, and this one looks like it's maybe in the box because it is very small. It looks like it's had some damage to the stem just there, and the larger leaves look like, I don't know if they have any variegation or if it's meant to have any changing of colour, but they've got some sort of yellowing or lighter green on the ends of the leaves there, so that could be that it's not getting something, maybe not enough nutrients or something that it needs. So I think what I'll do with this one, just like the other smaller plant, I will pot it up in a slightly larger pot with a better potting mix, maybe give it some support if it needs some support, and then just keep an eye on it. But I will do my research, as this one is new to me, so I'll need to find out how to look after it to help it thrive. So if you've got any tips for looking after the Monstera Esqueleto, then please do share in the comments below, and then hopefully we can help this grow to its full potential like the others. And the last tube that I've just opened had 2 plants in it too, including this baby plant. So this one, I say baby plant, it's actually quite a large plant in a baby pot. So it's clearly grown too big, and as you can see it's quite unstable in there. So that will need potting up. Now this one, I wonder if you can recognise it without the variegation. This one is a Philodendron Pink Princess without the pink. So this looks like it's just lost its variegation completely. But I do think the leaves still look wonderful with that solid dark colour. I don't even know what it is. It's almost like a chocolate brown. or possibly even like a very, very, very deep red, almost into that sort of chocolate brown, especially as you can see on the undersides, more of that red colour. So this is just in the rescue box, I think, because it's lost its variegation. There's a little damaged leaf there that can come off, but there is a new leaf on the way there, and it's a reasonable size too. So I think what I'll do with this, pop this up, maybe give it a stake or something for support, and then just keep an eye on it just to see if any variegation comes back, or if not, I'm quite happy with lots more of these solid dark leaves in the future. And this is plant number 9. I'm sure you'll recognise this as the Tradescantia Zabrina. This is another one with wonderful coloured leaves, especially the back of the leaves when you get it in the light and you get that wonderful purple or pink coming through, and then the glittery stripes on the leaves as well. So this one, it's generally okay on top. Lots of really compact vines in there, so I'm sure with the right conditions they'll really grow out and cover the pot and trail over the edge. But you can clearly see there's a missing chunk in the pot. So either something's happened with that and it's been removed, or it's just not filled the pot and it's just an uneven plant. Also, where it's been stored or stacked, it looks like there's been some damage to the side of it. So sometimes when they're in transport trays and they're stuck up against each other, that can cause damage when others are removed. So I think that's all that's happened on this side. So all it needs is just the right conditions, just some bright light, and as we're going into later spring and soon hopefully summer, then that will be perfect for this. It'll love that. It'll grow all of those wonderful vines and brightly coloured leaves down the side of the pot and hopefully fill out this space. And this is the 10th plant, and as you can see, this one is in by far the worst condition compared to any of the other plants. This one is a Philodendron Verrucosum, and this one usually when it's healthy has wonderful green leaves with the dark red or brown markings on the back. And this one, as you can see, is quite a large plant. It's grown so much larger than the tiny support pole that it had, so it's just grown over the side. It's caused itself some damage. Now I don't actually think it's been put in the box like this either. I don't think it's fared very well in transit. It's very wilted, so it definitely needs a water. And these can be very fussy as well. If you've had one of these, if you have one of these, they like a lot of water and a lot of humidity. I've had one in the past and unfortunately it didn't make it. So this one is going to be the most challenging out of all of the plants by far to try and help it survive. So this one does have some new growth and little shoots coming off in the middle there, which is a good sign. Now the only thing that I have to decide is whether to keep it as one whole plant and then try and help it recover in its full plant as it is. So what I'd do is repot it and put in a larger pole to support it, and then just make sure that it is actually secured to that pole, and hopefully that will then help it recover. Or what I could do is cut this down and then propagate potentially the longer stem, a bit like I would with the Micans earlier. Cut this down, propagate this, and then it might mean that this smaller plant with this new growth down here has a better chance of recovery as a smaller unit than trying to recover the whole plant and the bits of damaged plant that are down here as well. So let me know what you think I should do in the comments below. Should I try and recover the whole plant as it is, or chop it down a little bit, recover the smaller plant, and then propagate the bits that I cut off? Let me know what you think. This is plant number 11, and this is the Philodendron Verrucosum. So this one, as you can see, is in much better condition than the last one, but it does have some similar issues. So this one, as I move it, you can probably tell it's quite wobbly. This one has outgrown its pot, it's far too big, and it's also outgrown its support pole, so it's much bigger than that. So what I would do is repot it in a larger pot so that it's secure in the potting mix as well, but also give it a larger support pole, not just for where it is, but also so it's got some room to grow as well. And then you can see this is damaged up here. These leaves tend to be okay further down, but as we go up, something's obviously happened to it that have damaged these leaves. And this one I'll take off completely because that is gone, whatever's going on with that. These ones I'll leave as they are. They've got little tears in them, but there's nothing wrong with the rest of the leaf. So it might look a little bit untidy, but I'll keep those on there. There does look like there's a new leaf coming up on the side of that stem, so hopefully that will continue to grow, and once it's got that support in place, then again it will be able to grow even taller and fill up the new support pole. So we'll see how we go with this one with just those few adjustments. So we've had 11 plants from the 3 rescue boxes. We've had 4 in the standard houseplant box and 8 across 2 rare plant rescue boxes. Now the rare plant rescue boxes were £27 each, so 54 in total for those 8 plants, and the standard houseplant box was £15, so 15 for those 4 plants that we got. Now I have looked on the retailer's website just to look up all of the plants that we've received today to see how much they are charging for them. Some are currently on sale anyway if you were to buy them individually, obviously not as low as what we've got them for in the rescue box, but they are on sale as well. So what I've done is I've used the standard price for plants of the same size in the same pot size to then add up what the value of the plants would have been had I bought them all separately and as obviously plants at full health. So of course these ones are plants that do require TLC, so they're not necessarily of the same value, but I've still added them to the collection for a lot less. So looking at the rare plants, the 8 rare plants, the total cost of the 2 boxes was £54. Their value, including those that are currently on sale, is at a minimum of £185.93. So the difference in that is massive. It's £131.93 that I've saved to get those plants in my collection using rescue boxes. Granted, the penultimate one, the Verrucosum, does need a huge amount of support and a lot of work to bring it back to full health. Most of the others were okay, they just need a bit of repotting and maybe a bit of support. But still a lot of new varieties for £131.93, cheaper than it would have cost me to get them all individually. And then the next one, the houseplant one, so 4 of those houseplants would have cost me £36.96 in total, so £15 for the box. I've saved £21.96 there as well. So fantastic savings and real great varieties, new varieties to add to the collection, as well as some duplicates that I've got there. So let me know what you think about the value of the plants that I've got in the rescue boxes and what you think of the quality of the plants that have come in the rescue boxes as well. Now the next few days are going to be taken up with plant chores, looking after those plants that I've just got as well as some overdue ones with the rest of the collection. Let me know what you thought of the plants that I've received, as well as whether you've tried rescue boxes in the past. How did you find them? Let me know in the comments below. If you've got any care tips for any of those that I've covered, especially the Monstera Esqueleto and the Philodendron Verrucosum, then please do let me know in the comments below and we can help bring these plants back to full health. If you have found the video interesting, then please do consider subscribing for more plant content, usually every week. I'll link my previous video at the end which covers potting mix components. It's a 2-part video covering 13 components, their beneficial properties, some less desirable ones, and how to use them. So if you want to watch that next, I'll link part 1 at the end and then part 2 is linked at the end of that video. So if you've got time, watch them together. If not, save the second one until later. Now if you've got any questions, put them in the comments below and I'll respond to everyone. And as always, thank you for watching Grow Your Wellbeing.